This was our dream game, a multiplayer, hyper-immersive fantasy world where we would give power to the players to become the narrative. We wanted it to be like no other online RPG, as gritty as it gets, one life, one character per player, actions with consequences. We wanted to push the envelope of the kind of stories that can be achieved through the medium of role-playing, that nothing would be impossible. Well, we launched the project on December of 2021, and it was insane. Watching the players' behavior from a DM perspective was an unbelievable experience. And the things that happened in character, my goodness. The madness, the beauty, the chaos. And the fact that I left the project because I had a fallout with the staff is just as crazy as this whole project was. I guess it's time to tell that story. To make the dream happen, we use Neverwinter Nights, a tool that lets players design and host their own D&D worlds. With a team of 5, we designed a map, a biosphere, gave the world an identity, lore, a unique feel, and a story behind it, and we launched. It was an exciting day. Players were starting to log in, one after the other. They read the rules, which let them know that it's a hardcore role-playing server, and that once they enter the world, they must stay in character the whole time. The long wait was over. It was time to officially open the floodgates and let the players in. I did the honors. Players were then introduced to the inescapable island of Narumir. They crashed into a mysterious shipwreck-infested shore. The DMs were following their footsteps. DMs by default are invisible to players. That's DM Wander, the Nazgul, Ragnarok, that weird ghostly thing, and me, who didn't have a special avatar. As the newcomers to the island followed the signs by the shoreline, they were led into a town called Coffinswood, where a sign ominously read, "Do not live alone, and night is death." The players were excited to discover Coffinswood, a small safe haven by the shore. Our NPCs greeted them, the local rulers of the town. It was an eventful day. A ship crashed into the tavern, and the players were introduced to crawlers for the first time, the local dreadful inhabitants of the island, who took their first victim that night. A few others also died to crawlers. That victim's corpse was picked up by Geyserik, a barbaric-looking individual who strangely started carrying him away from everyone. I was fascinated. Where the hell is he going? What is he gonna do with the body? He then chopped him to pieces and ate his heart. Good God. Well, we rewarded the players for good role-playing, and that was certainly worthy of reward. As we, the DMs, and the NPCs we portrayed went away, amongst the players, 2 characters were emerging as outspoken leader type, trying to organize equipment and scouting parties. One of them was Geyserik, and the second one was Aldo, a bard. They were already exchanging words. Aldo was defending the half-orcs who washed ashore, Grug, Ezer, Baraxis, while Geyserik made no attempts to hide his scorn for them, to half-orcs and orcs in general. The racial hate begins already, commented DM Wander. It was time to give players their first taste of power. The NPCs decided to elect a representative of the people. That role was really our way to let the players gain control of the town, so it was a pretty big deal to the first character that got it. 2 characters put their names forth, Aldo and Geyserik. Both had people speak for them. There was a clear divide. Geyserik was well liked, but not by the half-orcs. Aldo, however, surrounded himself with half-orcs. They gave him power, confidence, and legitimacy. To choose between them, a task was given: to find and capture a wanted orc, dead or alive. Whoever finds him first gets the job. 2 parties searched high and low. Eventually it was Aldo's group that was closing in on the trail leading to an abandoned house near Coffinswood. The wanted orc was spotted. Though he begged for his life, Aldo gave the command to take off his head. Grug obeyed and killed him, and so Aldo returned victorious, carrying the head of the orc and becoming the de facto player's leader of Coffinswood. I wanted to step it up a notch and get rid of the NPCs altogether. The dark background of the NPCs was slowly being revealed. They weren't as human as they seemed, and flashes of their inhumanities appeared. The townsfolk were starting to get anxious when they realized they couldn't trust them. A rebellious crowd gathered, and so it was. In the abandoned taverns of Coffinswood, players rallied up against the NPCs. They were led by none other than Aldo. But from that point on, the NPCs would not show themselves again, and Aldo became more and more confident the town was his. A man called Vico was inspired by the speech and the unity that he said he would enroll to the town's militia. Kira, also a warrior, wasn't so sure they're in good hands. The next day, a mason came to Coffin's Wood, an NPC by the name of Hand. It was my way to allow players to build and change the hamlet as they see fit based on the resources they gathered. After all, Haze is a players-driven experience, and we claimed everything can change, so it was time to show it. Now, for the record, Neverwinter Nights is an old engine, so players can't just build anything they want in-game. They have to go through the staff, get it approved, and then wait for a module update. To reduce strain on the staff, we decided that only the Hamlet leader can ask for meaningful build requests. Aldo had met with Hand and said he wanted a wall built, but the others that were there wanted a tavern. Aldo was getting more and more impatient with all those intervening voices. He put his foot down, making sure everyone understand who is in command. Vico became indignant. "I have decided, sir," he said. "I won't be working for a dictator and a crook. I no longer volunteer. You hear me, sir? I no longer take orders from you if you can't listen to the people." "Then get out of my sight," answered Aldo. Those voices who sought the downfall of Aldo began frequently gathering in an abandoned house on the outskirts of Coffin's Wood. Aldo could feel the resistance mounting up against him. Aldo even found a crude drawing of himself with Grug, his half-orc bodyguard, which was posted in Coffin's Wood's notice boards. The rift was about to get even wider. Aldo led a group of men on a patrol when orcs showed up, claiming they were just passing through and wanted to get back to their cave. Not wanting to start a fight, Aldo let them pass. That upset the dwarves and infuriated Gunnar, a hot-headed wild man whose hatred for orcs festered. As they returned to Coffin's Wood, tensions flared. The very rulership of Aldo was challenged. Democracy was called for. Aldo, after all, was not elected, but chosen by NPCs who were nowhere to be seen. The legitimacy of his rule was put in question. As they went back and forth, some were beginning to tighten their grips on their weapons. Aldo's men were prepared. Kira was desperately trying to break it all off before all hell breaks loose. "Stand down now and allow for a council," said Malrum, the dwarf. "I don't care if I'm not on it, but I will not let you declare yourself as sole ruler." Yet, a man called Tarwin landed the first blow. Gunnar immediately joined. Trio, an elf, then shot an arrow at Ezra, knocking him down. At the end of the fight, Tarwin, Gunnar, and Trio all fell. Malrum got into Aldo's face, telling him this ends now. Grog struck Malrum from behind, and Aldo landed another blow. As they bled to death, Aldo dragged them to be hanged. He would make a showing out of their death. For your crimes against our people, you've been sentenced to death, said Aldo. As that happened, Kira was trying to establish contact with the NPCs, only to find that no one responded. Hanging them from a tree, Aldo pulled the rope himself. Aldo, am I to be hanged? Asked Malrum. No, you did nothing, answered Aldo. I attacked you rashly thinking you were going to, and I apologize. In the shadows, a rebellion against Aldo was brewing in Coffinswood. Aldo was becoming paranoid. He knew they were after him. He was looking over his shoulders, trying to spot the traitors. His men were his eyes and ears, occasionally finding and disrupting meetings. Kira decided to leave Coffinswood, preferring to live in exile than under Aldo's rule. Many helped Kira. They would meet her in sacred locations, giving her food and resources. Her move empowered a rebellion, and the home she made in the cave became the main secret gathering place for the resistance against Aldo. There was to be a showdown. Unfortunately, that same day is the day I left the server. This is my last recording of Haze as a DM, January 4th, 2022. That's when everything went down. Fortunately, I have the details of what happened. Through screenshots and chat logs, I know what happened. Kira has been living in the wilds. She was now a known conspirator and couldn't go back to Coffinswood peacefully. Yet, she occasionally snuck inside to secretly work on her craft, creating leather armors. That fateful day, she went into Coffinswood's keep, escorted by 3 dwarves, Malrum, Thoric and Bjorkhild, and began working on the armors as the 3 dwarves kept watch. Aldo suddenly showed up. Focused on her craft, Kira didn't hear the conversation that went on behind her. Malrum, yelled Aldo. By my accounts of your subversion to the People's Army, you're under arrest. Subversion? You're kidding. You work against us, rallying men to fight back against the army that defends this place. Place your hands forward so they may be bound. By whose word? Mine, under martial law. You have 2 seconds to put your weapon away. As I say 2, you get dropped. 1, 2... A fight broke out. On the one side Aldo and his half-orcs, on the other Kira and the dwarves. The dwarves outfought them, and Aldo and the half-orcs fell. Defeated, with their hands tied, the reign of Aldo was now over. The people held a trial. At the end of the trial, Aldo was beheaded. Baraxis, also sentenced to death, went on a berserk rage and was killed. Grog suicided. Ezer went into exile and wasn't heard of since. Kira didn't want everyone to die, especially not Baraxis, who she considered her friend, and gave him a proper burial. I wish I could tell you more stories from beginning to end like Aldo's. I wish I could tell you what happened after Aldo died, or I could tell you more about what happened to the crawlers. Or perhaps the fact that a curious gnome, Kelston, found a way to control the crawlers. There was also this one place players were absolutely obsessed with. Somewhere, deep underground, there was a mysterious place filled with zombies. And a sword lodged into the stone, which claimed to be a very special sword. Everyone was obsessed with it. So many expeditions were made. So many tactics were tried. I never thought players would be so obsessed with it. Many died trying to get the sword. I wish I could tell you the end of that story. But I can't because I left. So why did I leave? Okay, well, it all stemmed from the fact that I couldn't find a way to balance my real work as a mechanical engineer and Haze. It just felt too consuming, and maybe because of it, I was pretty self-involved as a DM, not involving the other team members as much as I should, which the team criticized me for. I just couldn't DM any other way. At Haze's launch, I took a lot of time off work, but once I had to go back to work and I had to juggle the two, I realized how impossible that was. It was just too time-consuming. I just couldn't keep up with neither the players nor the staff. So it was either I keep being a self-involved DM, or let them continue without me. The healthier choice for both of us was to let them continue without me. It was the only option, really. I could have not left and taken a step back and downgrade myself to a video storyteller role, but I was way too emotional at the time and I felt like I was being backstabbed. I just had to distance myself from the project altogether. If it was entirely up to me, I would have chosen a different, grittier settings and maybe changed that settings once the story was over. Like, one season could be Witcher, another season could be Game of Thrones, etc, etc. Keeping it fresh and creative with different environments and ideas and not recycling content. I believe that repetition is death, and that what we do here tends to lose its novelty fast, so it's imperative to keep it fresh. Players-wise, I did have a grander vision that didn't happen, of a large, vibrant community with several dozen players online concurrently, living in distant hamlets from each other, a true feeling of a world. When I took a step back, I started to wonder whether the kind of hardcore storytelling immersion we were after necessarily means being online 24/7. I did think of other ways Haze could work without being all that time-consuming to both the players and the staff, and incorporate more casual players, and I wrote an essay about how I think it could work. But I guess as long as I'm not the one who's building, DMing, and maintaining the 24/7 experience, I could still be a part of it and be that fly-on-the-wall storyteller documentarist. As for the players were great. They even surprised me as to how committed, talented, and awesome they were. They went through the books that we placed in the library and started conversations about it. Here you can see Kelston digging out old lore and trying to see if it's still relevant today. Here you can see a character, Narmo, that only spoke Elvish. He couldn't communicate with other non-Elven speaking characters and needed to have other elves or characters that know Elven translate for him. In the beginning I found him frequently exploring the land and emoting to himself. Here is Vico and others, grave robbing. There is Halric, guarding the gates. Here is Fons, stumbling about with his umbrella and together with Kelston, uncovering some secrets of the island. Then there was Aldo. He certainly played his villain role effectively. Some players thought that the DM team was egging him on to be that sort of villain, to play that way. Of course we didn't do that, it was all him, all his choices. That's the way he chose to play. I do have to know that his speech was filled with anachronisms. ASAP. Here you have a character responding to that anachronism saying, "What is an ASAP?" On the other end there was Kaedweni Knight. He was a master of archaic speech. One of the best roleplayers I've seen. Not just his speech, he really knows how to make a character be believable, feel from that period of time, and he just pitch perfect. He did it just the right amount, not to overdo it, and I really enjoyed watching him. There were a lot of great characters. I couldn't possibly mention them all. I still believe in the concept of non-scripted roleplay events as a storytelling medium. I think it's utterly fascinating seeing players dive into an ongoing story that nobody knows what's gonna happen, not even the DMs. Of course, permadeath ties it all together. Without permadeath it's meaningless, and I would love to see more role-playing servers going the hardcore route and keeping the spirit of Haze lit. Who knows, I might be there someday, looking for a story to tell. Thanks for watching, and till next time.
Through the storm of the sea, and the rain and the cold, broken mass of the ships on that graveyard of old, we washed up on the shore of the forbidden isle. Each soul's secrets unfold to the sight of our eyes. Narumere, Narumere, will you let us depart? Will you let us set sail to the lands of our heart? Narumere, Narumere, will you let us depart? Will you let us set sail to the lands of our heart? As the days chase the nights, will the gods hear our plea? Will the winds bring us hope on the waves of the sea? Its harsh beauty still holds us, and our hopes may yet live. Like a cliff always breaking, as the strength will not give. Narumere, Narumere, will you let us depart? Will you let us set sail to the lands of our heart? Narumere, Narumere, will you let us depart? Will you let us set sail to the lands of our hearts? Though the danger surrounds us, always one will we stand, to remember all striving us will bring to an end. For before we our freedom ever hope to regain, we must find strength together just to live to remain. Narumere, will you let us depart? Until then will you be ever home to our hearts? Narumere, will you let us depart? Until then will you be ever home to our hearts? I write this and ponder a life of wonder, the life of a mountain too high. I read of his deeds and his banners and creeds, and marvel as he passed us by. I stood on and ran to the hero of men. The giant stood some extra feet high. I walked with him with a plume and pen, and asked him how to make the world cry. He said, "Bard, look at what I've accomplished. It's not heroic acts of fate. It's on the shoulders of giants and those passers-by us. That's why I stand firm at the gate." Quite puzzled, he noticed and pulled out his sword and knelt down on one knee. He said, "What's less important than a sword you afford is the word you live by in your deeds." Said, "Bard, look at what I've accomplished. It's not heroic acts of fate. It's on the shoulders of giants and those passers-by. That's why I stand firm at the gate." To this day I've heard the fall of a beholder. Some dragons and demons he slew. But forever I'll know on each pathway he goes that he's done it for me and for you. He said, "Bard, look at what I've accomplished. It's not heroic acts of fate. It's on the shoulders of giants and those passers-by us. And that's why I stand firm at the gate." Listen well to the stories you tell as you live and stand by the gate. Now listen well at the stories he tells as he lives by and stands by the gate.
of sons and daughters, hide the heart of who we are, making peace to build a future strong.